The problem that I see is that in the span of one movie, they're gonna try to fit in so many iconic characters. Here, you have two villains competing for screen time in one movie. It will be difficult to characterize Lex as nothing more than a psychopath, and Doomsday will just be the plot device that makes people be friends again at the end. In Man of Steel, we just have a Superman that punches things until they die. A super-powered bum wandering around who's unsure of himself. He just saved those people because he happened to be there. Superman didn't care when he fought Zod in Smallville. He risked the lives of all those civilians just so he could beat the shit out of Zod. The DC Cinematic Universe has now made these characters the same. If you go dark on dark on dark, you get nothing. And now the Batman vs. Superman made a shit ton of money. It must be good, right? Your subtlety. I know I called how this movie might fail, but deep down, I wanted it to win. How cool would it have been if DC finally got a franchise going? No matter what you say, Marvel is doing it right. So my review is going to be a little bit different. A lot of people have already reviewed Batman vs. Superman. So I'm going to compare Marvel and DC with their newest movies. It's going to be Batman vs. Superman vs. Civil War. I'm going to address the elephant in the room. The Marvel Defense. It comes in various forms. They're totally different companies. You can't compare Marvel to DC. Oh, you're just biased. Let me explain why you are very, very incorrect. I assume you are a human being, so you have eaten the best food on the planet. Fried chicken. You go to different restaurants and eat their fried chicken. After eating, you can then say, oh, I think chicken X is yummy. Chicken Y is kind of shit. And chicken Z is not as yummy as chicken X, but it's getting there. You could do that with any product you buy. You should be able to compare and contrast companies that sell similar products. That shit is just common sense. I guess a question to ask would be, is it fair to compare these products to begin with? One tells a mature story, telling about the consequences of power and how it affects people when you use such power unchecked. And the other film is Batman vs. Superman.
Get away! Get back!
Number 1. Who is running the boat? Kevin Feige is the architect of Marvel Studios. His vision has led the company forward ever since Iron Man. Meanwhile, DC has Zack Snyder, who seems to take the helm after Man of Steel. You could see where these movies are going based on the vision of these guys for the whole franchise. So how do they approach the property? Feige wanted to remain authentic to these characters. It makes sense since he values the audience that made the product possible in the first place. Comic book nerds. If you piss off the comic book fans, how will anyone else like the movie?
Rest assured that I was on the internet within minutes, registering my disgust throughout the world.
Movie executives wanted half of the first Captain America to take place in present day, as opposed to the 6-minute escapade that we see when he wakes up. Guess who stopped them? Feige!
The origin of Steve Rogers, of Captain America, is inherently in World War II. So we decided we're going to make a 1940s adventure superhero movie. You know, in hindsight, it was a great decision, but at the time, it was controversial internally.
The surreal, whimsical coffee scene in Thor? Feige.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
The idea that you could have a franchise starring a talking raccoon and a sentient tree? Feige.
We were in 6, 7, 8 years ago when we decided, hey, we want to make a feature out of Iron Man. Guardians has been around for years. Hardcore fans know them well from the comics. But really, we're looking at something new.
I could go on, but you get the idea. I don't know if Feige does it himself, but Marvel knows how to pick a director for a particular adaptation.
I love the period, I love the designs and the clothes and the technology and everything, and I wanted to prove that you could make a period action film, have it be as exciting as a contemporary one.
What I did find exciting was seeing the formative moments in this origin story of a Loki who could then fire off into other Marvel movies with the audience knowing from whence the potential for evil came.
Driving force for me was to be able to create a gritty world that was still very colorful.
How about Zack Snyder? His approach is simple. Make everything dark and gritty and violent. That worked for his first adaptation, 300. There was really nothing light or whimsical about that particular comic. His style of movie making fit the material he was adapting, so he got lucky. I'm not saying that a dark and gritty approach to movies does not work. It all depends on what you are adapting. You shouldn't forget the source material, especially when it calls for nuance and complexity. Zack Snyder has a habit of focusing on the spectacle, not substance. You could see it in Watchmen.
There's the character's newfound cinematic love of violence. While breaking Rorschach out of prison, there's literally a single panel of them casually punching inmates, and they're having an intense conversation at the same time. Where in the film, they work their way up a corridor of enemies, just killing, and slashing, and punching. Snyder basically gave all the characters superpowers. Moore's story is that Dr. Manhattan is the only superpowered one in the lot, and none of the other would-be Watchmen really know how to deal with him anymore. One of Moore's big points in the book was looking under the costumes of his heroes and seeing all their weaknesses. Night Owl's fear for the future, Silk Spectre's frustration with the way her life has gone, Rorschach's massive psychological damage, they're just ordinary people who have taken the extraordinary steps of putting on costumes and fighting crime. After waiting 20 plus years for a film adaptation, this became a lot of people's biggest problem with the film, because it's easy to make superhero characters who casually take the little people apart with your bare hands. What's hard is making those characters totally, pathetically, openly human, and Snyder avoided that.
I'm not going into detail about how Man of Steel failed as an adaptation for Superman, since I already did that. You might want to click that link if you want. I can wait. Let's hear what Zack Snyder thinks of superhero costumes.
And so you have these kind of... I kind of came to the conclusion also that they couldn't really talk in their suits with any credibility. You know what I mean?
Really? Really? You never think for 1 second, shit, I just killed a human being.
It's being pretty generous.
A human being who did a lot of stupid shit, maybe even evil, but had one small piece of goodness in him. Maybe just a scrap, Frank, but something. And then you come along and that one tiny flicker of light gets snuffed out forever.
We had to get them back in their civvies.
So you couldn't have that version of the Heat coffee
you
shop.
You can't in their suits. By the way...
I think you're wrong. Which part? All of it. I think there's no good in the filth that I put down. That's what I think.
And how do you know?
I just know. Look around, Red. The city, it stinks. It's a sewer. It stinks and it smells like shit, and I can't get the stink out of my nose. I think that this world, it needs men that are willing to make the hard call. That's what I think. I think you and me are the same. We're the same. You know it. Only I do the one thing that you can't. You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down. It's permanent.
The honest truth is we talked all about, like, we need the heat scene. Like, that was like my mantra. I kept saying, we need the heat scene. We need the heat scene.
Yeah.
But like when they're in their suits, it was impossible. We tried it. And
okay.
It's just one of those things that you
have all these rules and you think they'll save you.
Who's in control? I have one rule.
Oh, then that's the rule you'll have to break to know the truth.
Which is?
The only sensible way to live in this world is without rules. And tonight, you're gonna break your one rule.
I'm considering it.
No, there's only minutes left, so you're gonna have to play my little game if you want to save one of them.
Yeah.
You know, if there are more than 4 or 5 lines and you start to notice, like, wait, these are 2 guys dressed up. One guy's dressed up like a bat and the other one has a big red S on his chest, and they're being super serious about how mad they are at each other.
Look at you go! Does Harvey know about you and his little bunny?
Where are they?
Killing is making a choice.
Where are they?
Choose between one life or the other.
Your friend, the district attorney.
Or his blushing bride to be. You have nothing to threaten me with. Nothing to do with all your strength. Don't worry, I'm gonna tell you where they are. Both of them. And that's the point. You'll have to choose.
And it just, you can, you know, it's just it's a dangerous thing, you know, because
okay.
It just gets, yeah.
Looks good, right?
But there's more.
Common Zack Snyder defenses! It's a serious movie. A serious movie does not mean it's a good movie. Especially if you make a 2-hour humorless film. You need the light moments to make the dark moments matter, and vice versa. A light moment with the main characters can have use if it sets up a dramatic moment.
Yeah, alright, laugh it up.
She begged for her life, Detective.
Shut up!
She begged for her life.
Shut up!
And for the life of the baby inside of her.
Shut up!
He didn't know.
Batman and Superman are too serious to their detriment. They are grim exaggerations of who they are as characters, which is related to the next defense. The film is realistic. It's not. It's not realistic. No, fuck that shit. The consequences are realistic, but these characters are not. A good movie is not made by the explosions the invulnerable man makes when he passes through a gas station. It's made by an interesting protagonist that the audience can root for. People are nuanced and complex. They have more than one expression, other than, I'm mad, I'm serious, look at my face. And the final defense is religious imagery.
We'll kill him.
How? He'll be a gaunt to them.
If there's a chance I can save Earth by turning myself in, shouldn't I take it?
Boss, you can save her, Cal. You can save all of them.
Okay, he's the Messiah. I get it. People point out religious imagery so that it appears that Zack Snyder's movie means something, when in fact it does not. The imagery should prove a point. He's godlike, sure, but that should be used to contrast his humanity.
Here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
In Man of Steel, all we get from Superman is that he's a god. He destroys shit. He does whatever the fuck he wants.
Are you effing stupid?
It's one of your surveillance drones.
That's a $12 million piece of hardware.
It was. Now you're trying to find out where I hang my cape. You won't. I'm here to help. But it has to be on my own terms. And you have to convince Washington of that.
What makes you think they'd listen?
I don't know, General. Guess I'll just have to trust you.
There is no warmth or humanity there. You got a guy that has all this power, but doesn't even bother to save civilians or get them out of harm's way in the first place. There are scenes where he saves people, but those are the exception. The rule is destruction. If the imagery is used to show that Superman is a savior, but all he does is cause destruction, which leads to the death of millions of civilians, what's the point? I'm not being sarcastic here, this is a serious question. This just goes to show that Snyder likes the spectacle. But if you ask him the meaning behind it, he'll probably just say, it looks cool. I guess it's okay, since
I just think he's kinda hot.